So first exercise, if I could get everyone to stand real quick, except my wife who's got a broken foot. Okay, so if you have internet at home, I didn't say if you're paying for it, or if you're stealing it, but if you have internet at home, please stand up. If you don't have internet, sit down. Okay? If you have any provider other than Time Warner Cable, please sit down. Okay, everybody standing gets a free year of internet. I'm just saying. So Victor, one of my good friends here, is from Time. You're still standing. You get free cable like me. What are you talking about? Yeah. So Victor works with me at Time Warner, and he's heard a lot of my talks over the years. And he goes, "Well, Brad, is this going to be one of your good ones or one of your bad talks?" No, Victor, I brought my bad talk tonight. So I was looking at the previous speakers you've had here. CFO, USAA, right? Lieutenant Colonel, Greg Alexander, I think the owner of Bill Miller Barbecue, and now you're down to the cable guy. You're really going to the bottom here. And is Jacqueline? So Jacqueline's telling me she's got a little sign there that says 5 minutes, 10 minutes left, whatever. Just let me know if on the other side of the sign, which I can't see, but it has applause. I want to talk about a couple of things. And I want to introduce my wife, Mary Kay. Becky, you want to raise your hand? My lovely wife of 31 years. She just had foot surgery, so she's hobbling around. But I got one of those neat handicap, little placards in the car. So I'm using it a lot right now. There's two passages in the Bible that, for me, have been the two most important guiding things for me. I want to read the first one before I start my talk, and this is from Matthew 16. When Jesus went into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" And that's a critical point I think for all of us. Who do we think Jesus is? Is he just a nice guy? Was he a lunatic, a liar, or was he God? Was he Jesus? Was he the incarnate God on earth? And once you say that, once you say Jesus is God, it kind of changes everything else, right? Everything else goes, it's God. Wow, that's important. And I'll get to the last one at the end. I want to talk a little bit about my childhood. Could you do that? Could you open that for me? Those are my glasses. I'm going to need to use those in a second. There's a secret decoder ring in there. So I'm born and raised here in San Antonio. I've lived all my life in Texas except for 3 years in purgatory. I lived in Ohio. I'm just saying, it's awful cold there. I went 2007, Mary Kay? We went to Ohio. I've got a story about that because the day the moving truck came to pick up our furniture, the day my dad died, I think. And so I go to Ohio for a career because there's great career progression. Brad, you want to run the cable company? Yes. Okay, well, you need to go off and be a general manager off somewhere. So they have these little mini systems. And you need to go to Ohio. And I go, Ohio, USA? Yes. Okay. I was looking on the map. There's got to be an Ohio in Texas somewhere. There's a Paris in Texas, right? There's a Paris in Texas. There's got to be an Ohio. I didn't find one. So they actually sent me to the Ohio, which, OH? Ohio. There you go. You're from Ohio. You can't go through Ohio. If you're in Ohio, even if you're going through the airport, just yell, OH. Ohio. That was really weak. OH. Ohio. There you go. It's a Buckeye thing. Yeah, I know where that is. Born and raised here, I'm one of 6 children. Both my parents were Catholic. They're both deceased now. And I'm the only practicing Catholic out of 6 children. And I am practicing it. Hopefully I'll get really good at it, but I'm practicing at it. And so I always wonder what happened in my childhood that we all left, most of us in the Catholic Church. which a lot of people do. In my particular case, it was my wife who really taught me the faith, taught me what it was to be Catholic. And so went through marriage many years, 10, 15 years, as a husband and a father, but not really a Christian or a Catholic. Okay. The fights often were, what's more important on Sunday mornings, golf or church? And for me, of course, the answer was easy. It was golf. That was way more important, not church. Then, one day, my brother and I, my brother was staying with me at the time, we wake up one morning, and there are, what, you guys are too young, but all my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm leaving on a bus on an extra tree. I don't think those were the words, but that's what ended up happening. So my wife packed bags for my brother and I, and we went on an extra retreat. This was 2005. And on that retreat, I was at the table, which I realize now God was guiding me, was a deacon, Deacon Chris from Holy Trinity Catholic Church. And Deacon Chris is just a regular guy. As I find it out, all deacons are regular guys. I thought there was something special about them because I go, how the heck did I get in the club? You watch, I'm not in yet, but I'm sure the Archbishop and team are making notes right now. Is this being filmed? This can be on YouTube? Archbishop? But I came back from that retreat and I told Mary Kay, I think I want to be a deacon. So from not wanting to go to church and just play golf to, hey, let's go all in. Let's be a deacon. And I fought that calling for years until, because it's been 2 years ago, I answered, and I'm currently in the diaconate program. And I hadn't been in college for 30 years. I graduated in 1985, and it's like going to college again. So thank goodness I have my ace in the hole, which is Mary Kay. Mary Kay has her master's in English, and so like this is what I say. Mary Kay is an A student. I'm a student. There's a big difference. All about pronunciation. So I don't know how I would do it without her, so she helps a lot. So she writes great papers. I need to learn Spanish. So anybody here speak Spanish? Free internet. Just got to teach me Spanish, right? Fortunately, both my sons are dating beautiful Hispanic girls who both speak fluent Spanish. One's from Mexico, one's from Guatemala. And so I've got to learn Spanish somewhere in there. Right? Otherwise, they're just going to say things about me, then I don't know. So my journey, though, changed. How many been on an Acts retreat? Okay. Man, I would expect the whole room to go up. Let's go, sign up. We can put your bags outside like my wife did. You guys are getting engaged? Okay, there you are. Bags are packed. Let's go on Acts retreat. Separate, men's and women's, but go on one. But Acts, adoration, community, theology, and service. So I got the whole community part. I enjoyed the community part of Acts, and that was a big part of my back to church was the community. I loved that part. Adoration, I didn't understand. Theology, I was stupid on it. And service, do I have to do that part? Yeah, okay, I'll do service too. I like service. But for me, when Mary Kay and I moved up to Ohio, we were dealing with issues not between us, but it led us to go to adoration, which I had never been before. And we were going to adoration multiple times a week, I would say, certainly once a week. And I remember the first time, and she goes, it's an hour. Pretty much in silence. Can you do it? So she gets me like all these books. And I think she wanted to give me one of those jelly beans or a lollipop to make sure I could make it through the hour. I must have had like a stack of books this big. And I go, is it a day and an hour? Why do we have so many books? But I made it through the hour. It was long ago. But it always comes back to me with Jesus in the garden. You cannot stay awake 1 hour with me, and I couldn't go to adoration for 1 hour for him, for our Lord who died for me. Okay, I can do an hour. And for those years in Ohio, I understand why I was put there, because my love of Christ, my love of the church, just blossomed. And I saw on the little flyer here that you have. Well, that's a good picture of me, by the way. St. Joseph prayer to St. Joseph. Well, that's my patron saint, is St. Joseph. And my faith really came, and what I encourage you to do is your prayer life. My prayer life is pretty weak, but it is so much stronger than it was so many years ago. And they say you're not supposed to test the Lord, but I continue to test him. I just hope he doesn't hit me with lightning and shoot me down. But my faith was pretty weak. I had a lot of doubts. I could go, am I just being brainwashed here? Is this whole Jesus stuff real? Is this stuff real? Or am I just, at the end of the trip, I'm going to go on the ground and nothing's going to happen? And just this whole time it was a joke? And so I needed some reassurances, and I think God knew my faith is weak. And so we would go to, I was going to confession pretty regularly. Not that I necessarily needed to. I'm just...
network connection.
Okay, obviously they don't have Time Warner cable here because the network connection's bad. I'm just saying.
We don't have any cable here.
You don't have any cable here? Well, maybe we can work that out. But so St. Joseph Catholic Church was in downtown Columbus, Ohio. And one particular day, I need to look at my notes because I don't remember the dates. So I was in Ohio, and my career, the company had changed. They decided to start centralizing. And so we were a very decentralized company in 2007. And I wasn't 6 months in Ohio, and they started saying, we're going to become a centralized company. So the position I went up for to try to train to become, they eliminated. And now I was in Ohio, no offense, but I didn't want to be there. It was cold and dark, and I was sad. I wanted to go home to Texas where it was warm, where the humidity was 115, where I don't have to go on a diet. I just go outside for 10 minutes and I can lose weight. And so they had this position open up in San Antonio, and I called the recruiter and said, hey, I'm interested in this position. And they said, well, I'm sorry, we already have an inside person for that. It's already taken. I go, well, I'll go back to Ohio. And so this was in February or something like that. And then in March, I was in the office, and I just felt like, I was praying. I go, God, you got to give me some direction. I don't know where I'm going to do, where I'm going to go. My oldest son was back in Texas. He never came up. My other two sons obviously were with us, but it wasn't home. And so I called the recruiter up again, and they said, oh, no, we were wrong. It is an open position. Send me your resume. I sent my resume. They said, perfect. I called the hiring manager or recruiter, and that day they set up an interview for me for the following week. And then Mary Kay called me later that afternoon. She was at St. Joseph praying and saying, hey, do you know what today is? And she goes, no. She goes, well, today is March 19th. Who knows what March 19th is? It's a feast of St. Joseph. She goes, you need to call the recruiter because I just have this feeling something was hitting my gut. I go, me too. I had this feeling. And I go, I didn't know it was St. Joseph's feast day. It didn't click in, but it was. And so I got the job interview. Then, on May 1st, I get a phone call. We're in the hospital because our son had got injured. I think that was the day, right? She's giving me that funny look like, either you're wrong or you're lying. I'm talking about my lying. Well, I'm not lying, but anyway, it was May 1st. I know that's right. And who knows what May 1st is? St. Joseph's Worker Day. On that day, I got a job offer. Bookends. And we had been praying the novena to St. Joseph for me to find an answer. God's a show-off, right? And I've got many examples of that. In 2000, excuse me, I don't remember the exact year. We were living in Houston. I think it was it 1999? What's that Prince song? Oh, 1999. 1999, and I was working for, ironically, a company called Charter Communications, which just bought Time Warner Cable. Isn't that strange? God is just a show-off. Yes, I know you're God, but I like how he shows off because it reaffirms my faith. In 1999, I was working, I shouldn't have said Charter. I should have said another company because now I gave it away. But I wasn't happy. Matter of fact, I was miserable, and I was miserable with my boss. And I won't go through all the gory details, but I was on a trip, a business trip, and in the middle of the business trip, I decided to quit. And I don't remember, Mary Kay, if I told you, or if I just showed up on the doorstep. And I go, what are you doing home early? Because I love you, dear. I want to be home with you. You're my sweetheart. Actually, I quit. And I went back home because I was so miserable with my boss. I quit my boss, not the company. Which is where, by the way, most people leave their job. They quit their boss, not the company. And so, this is 1999, so I went to the office the next day and I sent an email. Yes, we did have email in 1999. My address was bradwakely@aol.com. or Earthlink, whatever, back then. And I sent the email in at 10:45 a.m. And I call it my 11:15 moment because 30 minutes later, 11:15, I get a phone call from a former boss of mine. He said, hey, Brad, I just got a call from a headhunter at Time Warner Cable in San Antonio is looking for a director of sales. Do you have any interest? Yes. I just quit my job 30 minutes ago, so yes. My wife is not working right now. My wife's a teacher, and she would work off and on, and I've got credit card debt, car payments, house payments, and yes, I need a job. And, my faith I wasn't there with my faith at this point, but God was looking after me. Why? Because Mary Kay, faithful people were praying for me. How many of us, when someone says something, and we go, let me pray for you, I'll pray for you. How many of us actually do it? I know I didn't. It's like, Gesundheit, I'll pray for you, and I forget. Or I don't think about it. It doesn't mean anything to me. Well, now I try to make a mental note later, and I try to put it on my phone. And where I'm in prayer, I try to pray for that person by name. I even have people come up and pray on the spot. Says, you know what, I don't want to forget. I'm going to pray for you right now. That's prayer life. Your prayer life has to grow. How much time do I have left? 10 minutes. You didn't do a sign. I'm so disappointed. Can you do it higher? Oh, no? Okay, 10 minutes. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is, so how do I use my faith in really in the business world, industry, and it's a challenge, and very secular business industry. And so, obviously I can't go up there and do the rosary in front of 500 employees. I did that once, I didn't like it. They said, Mr. Wakely, you can't do that. I'm joking, I didn't do that. But what I do try to talk about is life, because everything's about relationships. And the advice I have for you is, to me, I've been in business for 31 years. I've hired everyone from VP level to frontline level. And the folks that I look for to hire, that are direct reports to me, it's all about their character. The resume, sure, but I've hired people outside the industry to come into our industry if I felt they had the right character. And as you know, I spent a lot of I'm talking to my wife, I spent a lot of time when I'm first in the city developing the team that they're going to take care of their employees. They're going to focus on them. And one of the statistics that I'm proud of is the average turnover rate for technicians. I run technicians now, the folks that come to your home, between 8 and 9, 1 hour window, by the way. They're guaranteed money back if we don't make it in 1 hour. The average employee churn rate is about 35% churn. So for every 100 employees we hire, about 35 leave. In San Antonio, it's 12%. And San Antonio, compared to other markets where it's cooler, I mean, like Ohio, that's a good example, where it's cold. I remember driving across Ohio one morning, like 5 in the morning. I don't remember where I was going, and I see the Ulysses S. Grant Library. I go, oh, he's from Ohio. It's like 5 in the morning, and I look at the temperature gauge on my car. It's minus 20. I didn't even know they went in the negatives. I go, why is this car still moving at 20 below degrees? I try to use real life stories. And one of the real life stories I use is my best friend, Carrie Collins. I was lucky. I met my best friend at 45 years old or 46, wherever it was. I mean, who does that? I mean, it wasn't like Carrie and I were on the playground and we're going down the slide. Hey, you want to be my buddy? their best friend at that age? I did. And we hit it off right away. We looked alike. I still think I'm better looking. People would actually mix us up sometimes, you know? And our birthdays were 4 days apart. We got married the same years. Our spouses are very similar. So I went around telling Carrie's story from the time he had cancer till his passing. And I would go into a room with 500 employees, and I wouldn't talk about cable or metrics. I would talk about life and what's important. And that's how I talked about Christ in front of employees. I was in Corpus Christi one time talking about 100 employees. This was maybe June, July of last summer. And I was telling Carrie's story, and I said, what a waste it is for you to be upset and mad with a sibling. I was telling them, don't waste your time with that. I go, how many of you, I'm not asking you, so don't raise your hand. I said, how many of you in the room talking to technicians have a broken relationship with a sibling or somebody in your life that you haven't talked to because of some fight you don't even remember what it was about? And I told Carrie, so I remember talking to Carrie in the hospital, and what was important to him, and it was the girls and his wife. And so I remember telling that story, and then about a month later, I'm back in corporates again talking to the same group, and I had to rush to another part of town for another meeting, so I'll do Q&A afterwards, and in this particular case, I had to leave. And a guy comes running in the parking lot, chasing me down, Mr. Wakely, Mr. Wakely. I go, you looking for my dad? And he says, I just want to tell you, that story you told last time, I have a sister I haven't talked to in 15 years. I reached out to her. We reconciled. And now my children and her children, our cousins, know each other. And that's because of Carrie. I wouldn't have said it otherwise. That's the Holy Spirit driving that. So how do you be successful? Have I got 5 minutes? Do I got 5 minutes? Am I over the minute? Okay, how do you be successful? Can you come hold the microphone? Kimberly. How many of you are married, have children?
Married with children.
Anybody have children around 4 or 5 age? Any young children? How many act like a 5-year-old? Okay, come up here. You act like a 5-year-old? Come on up.
Okay, am I good?
Yeah, you're good. You want to know how to be successful in life? It's marshmallows. So if you were a 5-year-old, this is what I would do. So when you have children or no children, this is what I want you to do. When they go, Dad, am I going to be successful in life? You go, well, son, excuse me, what's your name? Roland, let me tell you how you're going to be successful in life. Put your kid, 4 or 5 years old, in a room, and you give him one marshmallow. You go, Roland, it's about whatever that is, 8:05. I'm going to be back in 15 minutes. When I come back in 15 minutes, if you haven't eaten that, this is a 5-year-old we're talking about here, I'm going to give you another one. You're going to have 2. And then you leave the room for 15 minutes. Okay? All right? And you can sit down now, but you can take those marshmallows.
Thank you.
So this was a real study. This was done in 1960 at Stanford University. They took about 50 kids and they did this. Guess what percentage of the kids ate the marshmallow? 2/3 of the kids ate the marshmallow. A third did not. Now one little girl, who I guarantee you is going to be an attorney, or maybe she was, she peeled out the middle of the marshmallow, ate it, hollowed the marshmallow out, and put it down. And they have this all on camera. Google it. Stanford Marshmallow Experience. Oh my gosh. You'll be laughing through your nose where marshmallows will be coming out. It is hilarious. These kids are hilarious, trying to not eat the marshmallow. That's like me telling you, don't text for a day. Oh, I'm going to do that. So they followed these kids for 40 years. They're my age now. They're like 25. And what did they find? They found the kids who did not eat the marshmallow relatively successful in life. They adapted better. They had better marriages. They weren't on drugs. All these things we use to measure success, they were basically it. So you have children and you do this and they eat the marshmallow, don't get too upset. Doesn't mean they won't make it. But what do you think it is? Why do you think that is? Phil Donahue. John, what do you think?
Impulse control.
Impulse control, exactly. They had something innate to them that says, you know what? If I work for something, do hard work, there's going to be reward at the end. Other people, I had to learn that. I would probably steal your marshmallow. That's how our faith is too, though. We have to be disciplined at it. Okay? You just listen, I'm trying to be a deacon and I hit dry spells. And we go through this academia and it's a heck of a pace. I go to school twice a week from about 6 to 9 and one Saturday a month. And it's all academia. It's like, oh, listen, I'm 50 some odd years old and I like to go to bed before 10. And we get home close to 10, and then you're all wired, it's like midnight, and then you got to study because you have a test just about every week in every class. So you need discipline in prayer life. You need discipline. You need someone to help you with that. And that's how you're going to do it. So I just want to close with the last passage, and then I'll do some Q&A. I had a lot more to talk about, but I ran out of time. She keeps holding the sign up that says, 5 minutes, Mr. Wakely, was 10 minutes ago. But you seem so nice. So let me end you with a second passage that means a lot to me. And it's from Matthew 26. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to his disciples, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took with him Peter and 2 sons of Zebedee and began to be grieved and distressed. Then he said to them, my soul is deeply grieved, to the point of death. Remain here and keep watch with me. And he went a little beyond them and fell on his face and prayed, saying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. Jesus is getting ready to get crucified. He knows the punishment that's coming, but he says, Father, your will, not my will. That's what we have to do. What is God's will? How do you find that will? Because we want to do our will, not our Father's will. That's the challenge. First passage, he's God. Last passage, we got to find what God is calling us to do. So I'll take some questions, and thank you very much.